Aha! Welcome. Well, look, guys, I'm here. I'm dressed as a pirate. I'm sitting in my flat in London, and I'm supposed to be interviewing Mark Zolo, who is the naughty nomad, because his new book is out today. His new book, which is called My Life as a Mexican Pirate, which you will see in the thumbnail for this video. However, Mark has not yet joined me on the stream. Now, that could be because he's been quarantined somewhere. And I did see a tweet from him 2 hours ago that said that all flights going into Malta, which is, I believe, where he's currently based, are quarantined. And so I'm not quite sure what that means, but it might mean that he's been held up, and so therefore he's unable to come onto the stream. So what I think we're going to do is I'm going to crack on anyway and just talk about some stuff, wearing a silly hat. And if Mark is around, he's able to join, that's great. We'll get him on. And if he isn't, then hopefully we can reschedule for another time. I'm going to move this back a little bit now because it's oh shit. So, do you like the hat? I got the hat yesterday in anticipation of interviewing Mark Zolo, the naughty nomad. And if you don't know really who he is or why I'm wearing a pirate hat, then I will endeavor to explain. Obviously, the intention was to interview him, and he would have sort of gone into the details on the show. But as I say, at the moment, he's not around. So yeah, basically, right. So what it is, so if you guys are not familiar with a site called Naughty Nomad, then and you like to travel and you're interested in dating dynamics, you like to do game and all that kind of stuff, then you're really, really missing out, because Mark Zolo's site is, and I think I can say this unreservedly, is the #1 resource on the internet for travel advice for guys, let's say. Okay, so if you're interested in going somewhere, you know, say you want to go to Poland, or you want to go to Eastern Europe, or you want to go bloody, bloody, blah, to travel and to sample the local culture and to sample, let's say, some of the local population, perhaps, then Mark's site is absolutely where you need to be. It is fantastic. It's been a long time, and I think since Rush's forum has changed significantly in terms of content, I think it's fair to say that Mark's site is the best site now for travel information. So look, if you want to go anywhere, if you want to go to like Azerbaijan, or you want to go to the Congo, or just, you know, wherever it is, if you type it into Mark's site, you will probably find information, and you will probably find you know, some tips and advice for traveling there. So yeah, you know, so it's an awesome site. Now, the reason that I'm wearing this hat, and the reason that I had Mark on the show today, or scheduled to have Mark on the show today, was because he's just released a book. I think it's actually his 3rd book. So he's a fairly practiced writer, but his book is out today, and it's called My Life as a Mexican Pirate. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it, I believe, on his site. So I'll post the link and stuff. But in fact, the links, I believe, are already in the description to this video. So go and have a look at his site and everything else. But you can get his book on Amazon. I believe it's called My Life as a Mexican Pirate by Mark Zolo. And I've read the thing, right? So I read it. He sent it to me a little while ago, and I've read it this week. And really, I read it in about 2 or 3 settings. It's fairly sizable book. It's 70 to 80,000 words long, which is, you know, it's a decent sized book, but excuse me, but it is so engaging that I just like race through the thing. Do you know what I mean? I read it in like a few sittings, and it is absolutely phenomenal. And I hope that I am able to get Mark on the show, you know, at some point soon, if he's not able to join us now, because I really, really want to get into some details with him, because the stuff that this guy has done is absolutely insane. Okay, and basically what it comes down to is this: Mark is an Irish dude. He's a blogger. I believe he does some other bits and pieces, or he has done. He's done some, like, you know, DJing, bits of bar work, all these different things. And his whole raison d'etre really was traveling, for his, certainly as a younger dude. All he wanted to do was travel. And he basically had this ambition to travel all over the world, to go to every single country in the world. And he was also, you know, somebody who was a bit of a player. So he wanted to obviously meet local girls in the places that he went to, and so on. And so his blog, the Naughty Nomad site, basically charts that journey, or charts all of his journeys. But the thing that makes him different, because obviously quite a lot of guys have talked about travel, quite a lot of guys have talked about, you know, like, oh, this is what it's like to go to Poland, blah, blah, blah. But some of the places that Mark's been is absolutely nuts. I mean, he is talking about going to Somalia. He's where, you know, it's just completely illegal to do anything. I mean, West Africa, it just going into like literal war zones, okay? And not just that, but going into literal war zones dressed as a Mexican pirate. So in the book, he explains why that came about. And basically what it was kind of a joke with him and his mates. You know, him and some other dudes, sort of Irish crowd of lads who were up for a few beers and everything else, just had this crazy idea one time in a pub. Wouldn't it be funny to go around dressed as Mexican pirates and go and talk to local girls and all this kind of stuff? And so that's what they did, and they started doing it. They started to travel doing it. But it's all very well doing it in Dublin or something like that, where, you know, you just look like you're on a stag do and it's fine. But when you're talking about going into Mogadishu, or when you're talking about, you know, being in some backwaters in, you know, the Ivory Coast in West Africa, these are, I mean, this is nuts. These are, you know, we're talking some dangerous places where they're probably not used to, you know, foreigners being there anyway, or tourists being there, certainly. And, you know, for a load of dudes to turn up in fancy dress and basically start to chat up the local women wearing these crazy outfits, absolutely mental. And he charts the whole thing in this book, My Life as a Mexican Pirate, and it is fantastic. And he's a great writer as well. That's the other thing. I mean, there's a lot of people in this space who are sort of, you know, who put stuff out there, but they're not necessarily. What's always really good is to get that combination of somebody who's lived a life and is a great writer as well. And Mark has both of those things in spades. And you know, I have to admit, it's slightly, I wouldn't say humbling, or maybe I would say humbling actually, because, you know, I mean, you know, I've written articles about being in Russia and, you know, being in, I don't know, Eastern Europe and stuff like that. But that is child's play compared to what this dude has done. I mean, he is talking about, and what's interesting and what I need to talk to him about when he comes on the show, is that it seems like he's literally drawn to these dangerous places. He's literally drawn to the danger of going somewhere where there's an actual war going on, where there's an actual civil uprising going on, civil unrest. There's actual bombs going off. It seems that at this stage in his life, when he was doing all of the traveling, I think he's a bit more settled now, but when he was doing all of the intense traveling, you know, he would actually almost like, he would research places that for kind of shits and giggles. And that to me is incredible. And it's admirable actually, because, you know, so many of us, right, we kind of play it safe, don't we? You know, and it's easy in the online space to talk about, you know, well, being a renegade like me or whatever, you know, to talk about this idea of rebellion, this idea of risk taking, this idea of danger and all the rest of it. And these are very masculine things, right? Aren't they? I mean, it's very masculine to seek out danger. It's very masculine to go into a war zone willingly. It's easy to pay lip service to these things, but how many people actually do it? And here is a dude who clearly has walked the walk as well as talking the talk, and it's fascinating stuff. It's a fascinating story, and I think for anybody, you know, who's in this space, it's incredibly inspiring, because you kind of think, well, look, if this dude is doing this stuff, the bar has been set very high. John from On Life Dating is in the chat. Hello, John. I've been stood up by Mark Zolo, who I believe, although maybe he's just stood me up, maybe he's just got a better offer. He's probably on John's show, actually. He's probably on John's channel now. But I think he's got caught up in traveling into Malta because of presumably coronavirus. So I'm just going to talk some stuff at the moment. But, you know, what I'm saying is I really, really want to get him on because his book is absolutely fantastic. It's incredibly insightful. And what's really interesting, right, as well, is they go around wearing these stupid outfits. So they're wearing these hats. They're going around with plastic swords. They're going around with, like, you know, pirate kind of shit. And on some occasions, they go to some fairly upscale places. You know, they go to I think it's in Dubai or somewhere like that. And obviously Dubai it's a very upscale place. They go to, you know, sort of quite fancy nightclubs and things. And sometimes they don't get let in because they look like a stag do. They look like a bunch of Irish lads on the piss, which is, let's face it, basically what they are. But sometimes they would get let in. And he describes how, he describes how they will get funny looks from the guys in these venues, because the guys in the venues are standing there and they're in their sort of like Armani suits and they're trying to look cool. They're trying to look James Bond-like. And, you know, they're like, well, what are these jokers doing? This is ridiculous. But the vibe that they get from the women is incredibly different to that. So the women are loving it. The women are lapping it up, and it's not because they look cool. I mean, and this is the thing, right, guys? I mean, you have to get this idea of looking cool out of your head. You have to sort of draw a line under this idea that in order to be successful in the dating marketplace, you need to be some sort of Daniel Craig style James Bond in the, you know, the top 5% or whatever it is, and you are that James Bond dude, then yes, you are going to get some girls who are just naturally drawn to you. That it's going to happen for sure. But for most people, the option of just sitting there in the bar and not talking to anybody and trying to look stone cold cool is not actually going to get you that much traction. And what these guys, yeah, exactly. So Scorn says it sounds like peacocking dialed up to 11, and yes, really it was, you know. And Mark in the book describes how they would get like crowds and crowds of girls like coming, encircling them, and on some occasions in places like Ethiopia, where they are at one stage in Addis Ababa. You've almost got girls competing for their attention, competing to get taken home by this group of dudes wearing these stupid outfits. So why is that? Well, it's because well, it's a number of things. They're having fun. They're very, very visibly having fun. They are showing extreme confidence, because you don't walk into a venue, particularly a more upscale venue, wearing pirate shit or Mexican pirate shit, unless, you know, you are confident, because you're going to attract some negative attention from people. It's a risk socially, and in order to be that confident that you just know you can carry it off, you've got to have something about you, right? And so that's drawing them in. And the imagery of the pirate, as it happens, is also very attractive, because what is the pirate? Well, the pirate is a philanderer. The pirate is somebody who sails the high seas and goes and takes what they want. A pirate is somebody who is yeah, you know, who's got a zero fucks attitude and just goes in and takes what he wants. He's not somebody who is constrained by the normal feelings of, I've got to fit in with society, I've got to be this kind of person, I've got to be that kind of guy. Pirate doesn't give a shit about all that. He's just like going for it, man. He's just like, you know, go in, take what I want, and I'll go for it. And there is a lesson to be learned here. So you might want to stop short of dressing up like a pirate when you go out, and I think I will probably think twice about going to a venue with this on. Maybe in Vegas, we'll see. But you know, nevertheless, there is a lesson to be learned here, because peacocking, right? It's not necessarily about, I've got to get really, really fancy clothes, I've got to get designer clothes, and I've got to look immaculate, and it's got to be like, you know, I've got to be prestige. It's not actually about that. It's about standing out, but in a way that it just demonstrates that these are actually really masculine traits, which are the lack of fear, lack of social inhibition, lack of fear of what are zero fucks given attitudes to the opinions and the social constraints imposed on you by other people in the venue. And when I have done this kind of thing in the past, and I've done stuff like this in the past, what you find, amazingly, is that, you get this very, very predictable reaction, which is that the guys in the venue tend to think you're an idiot because you're wearing stupid clothes. But the girls are fascinated and they really kind of like it. So it's an interesting social experiment to try, and you might want to try it if you do nighttime. If you're into going out at night, if you're into the night scene, you might want to try mixing things up a bit and trying to be less cool. And it's not all about like your Versace jeans and whether you've got the CK shirt and whether it's perfectly ironed and stuff like that. All of this is BS. All of this. People talk to me about style all the time, and they're like, what is the best style to wear? How do I get perfect style? Blah, blah, blah. And guys can think, and I've fallen into this trap myself. We can think, I've got to get it perfect. I've got to get the right outfit. And if I get the right outfit, then she's going to be impressed by that. And, and if I've got the right make of jeans or the right sort of trousers or whatever it is, that's going to draw people to me. And it doesn't work like that at all. The guy who gets traction, the guy who gets the action and the results tends to be the dude who's having the most fun. It's bringing the party, okay? And that's what these guys are doing when they are wearing these crazy outfits and going into these clubs. And I suppose what is so, and also then think about, on top of that, think about the fact that these are guys. These are predominantly white Irish dudes, with other people as well, but predominantly you're talking about a crew of white Irish guys who are going out, smashing it, wearing these ridiculous clothes. So not only have they got the confidence to wear the clothes, but they've also got that sense of, what's the term? They've got that exotic appeal, right? They've got that sort of they win some points for the fact that they look different to the general populace. So, you want to be you want to be mindless. You want to not try to be too cool. And what I want to do actually is read you a little bit from a book called not actually Mark Zolo's book. We'll say that for if it comes on the show. A book by a dude called Bronze Age Pervert, and his book is called Bronze Age Mindset. It's a really, really fantastic book. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend that you get a copy. So Bronze Age Pervert is a sort of, he's got a big Twitter account. Know an enormous amount about him. He's kind of very much on the right wing side of things. There is a rumor that there are people within the Trump administration or within the White House who have read his book. It's a published book, the Bronze Age Mindset. I don't know if that's true or not, but certainly he has been sort of lumped in with the alt-right, and he's been talked about in some fairly high class magazines. Actually, some fairly intellectual people have sort of recognized as a serious writer. But anyway, all of that aside, Bronze Age Mindset is an awesome book, and you should really read it along with Mark Zolo's book. And it's hard to explain what it is. It's almost like he's laying out his philosophy of life. He's not somebody who's really writing about baseball game or anything like that. He's writing about politics and masculinity, let's say. And his view is that men should be risk takers, that men should be adventurers. And what I like about him, because he's like I say, quite far on the right scale, and maybe he further than I certainly am. But what I like about him is that he's not a boring track like all these dudes are. He is a he's not a tribalist. He's kind of the opposite. He's actually kind of radical. He's always like half and down, but not sort of not in a way. but more because he's interested in, basically he thinks everything is over. And so, anyway, all of that's a bit interesting. Let me read to you a part of. Sorry, I and this does refer to pirate. So there's some reasons. No great civilization ever founded nor kept by a to take over much of the right have brain is wrong. We're not shocking cut from it because I want to try to sorry, okay, right. So I'll read that again. No great civilization were founded to have taken over much of the but they have always love is of the okay is that women are now there's an interesting thing it, it's an interesting point. You've got to say you've got to not you've got to stand out to this taker. What more perfect way of doing that than embodying image of the pirate? Very, very simple, straightforward things, the concept to get your head around, but it's very, very important because if you're not prepared to pirate, if you're not prepared to, to put yourself out on a limb and to do things and to set yourself against the way that conventional society is, then you're going to find that you are, well, you're pegged as the beta, right? You are pegged as the dude who is boring, conventional, someone who follows all of the rules, but somebody who doesn't have that spark and that fire to go out and do things differently, to create universes for themselves. And that's what you need, right? You need to be someone who no longer wants the safe, boring guy, right? And this is the problem with the traditional conservatives who fill up this space. The problem is that what they are propounding is a philosophy that is now extinct, certainly in terms of the modern dating market. If she wanted safety, if she wanted the regular nice guy, if she wanted the dude who is, who pays all his bills on time and his direct debits are all set up properly and they all right, money, who has a full regular wage and everything else, there are billions of those around. There's no problem with getting one of those. You've got to be something else. And the image of the pirate is really important because what it symbolizes is risk taking, and it's being a renegade, okay? And that is why I think both Mark Zolo's story is so interesting, why the Naughty Nomad story is so interesting and so fascinating, really, the book that he's done about being a Mexican pirate. It's also why I really resonate with Bronze Age Perverts stuff as well, because he's basically sort of saying the same thing. And a lot of people are saying, play it safe, play by the rules that have been set hundreds of years ago, do the right thing. and it will all work out. And that just, we know from experience that's not really true. We know. How many stories do we hear about guys going into marriages thinking that they found, the one, and it's not working out? How many stories of infidelity do we hear about? How many stories do we hear of couples who, they got together and it all looked very promising, and then they're, and then a few years down the line, it's just suddenly irreconcilable differences, and it's tragic. And people like to put the blame on female sex, right? People like to put the blame on the female gender, and that you can understand. I mean, in some cases that might be understandable. You also need to look at the male side of the equation. As a guy, are you living up to that masculine, risk-taking, dangerous sort of archetype? Even Jordan Peterson says to be dangerous. This is the thing. I mean, as much as I like to dunk on Jordan Peterson, not for his addiction issues, by the way, because that is, a terrible thing. But as much as I like to dunk on the dude, because he is a bit of a tragic, even he, in his 12 rules for life, says you've got to be dangerous. And most guys aren't dangerous. And look, I mean, I'm not exonerating myself here, because who's, Mark Zolo, who's meant to be on this show, which is why I'm wearing this hat. If you just the street, as I said, I mean, he's gone into literal war zones. I mean, and it's not surprising. And then when you look at the number of women who were attracted to him, the number of women he got together with on his journey, there's no surprise how successful he's been, because, what is more attractive to girls? This is a guy who's actually embodying the stereotype of pirate. Remember, where you always have this kind of exotic value when you travel. To most places, it depends on where you're going and where you're from and all these kinds of things. But in a lot of places, you will have a degree of exotic value. And if you literally present yourself as a marauder, as somebody there who's come to take the spoils, as somebody who doesn't really give a damn, and who's just there to take what he needs, and then that is incredibly potent, and that's incredibly exciting, particularly in this dating marketplace that we have at the moment, where because you've got to remember, girls are no longer looking for a provider figure, right? Because provision is taken care of. For a start, regardless of the about the gender pay gap, women are earning more and more money. In many cases, they're earning more money than guys. There is no need for this idea about provisioning, because she can look after herself. And of course, we also know all about the divorce situation, whereby she's going to be taken care of in case of a legal split in marriage. So provisioning is not the key thing here. What is the key thing are those alpha characteristics, okay? And it's how you communicate those alpha characteristics. And if you're the ordinary boring dude who just rocks up at the bar and stands in the corner holding his drink in front of him, trying to look cool, then you're not going to attract any attention to yourself, and you're not appearing sufficiently dangerous to get her excited about you. Okay, you're just not putting out the right vibe, right? And and you need to look at that. You really need to look at that. Another just point about travel before we finish is that, isn't it funny? So, like, now I'm obviously looking at the news like everyone else. We've got coronavirus going on. And I see now that some places have closed their borders. In fact, quite a few places are starting to close their borders. I'm told Ukraine's closed its borders. I'm told Czech Republic has closed its borders. Obviously, Italy, the US has. All right, looks like Mark is in the chat. Yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, isn't it funny how now all of these places are being closed off? You can't travel to so many of these places, and it's only going to continue. And how terrible is that? Well, God, I because I haven't traveled anywhere for ages, right? I've been sort of uh, I've been sort of in London for the last little while. I wasn't necessarily planning to travel, but as soon as that prospect is taken away from you, as soon as you're suddenly you're not able to travel anywhere anymore because everywhere's closed off and because you're not allowed to travel. Um, that's a really really bad thing. That's a bad situation, and it really makes you grateful to travel. Uh, yeah, when it suddenly out how the situation was normal, you know. Um, it's
All right, bro.
Hey, man.
I love
How
the
are
way
you?
you dressed up. We have similar styles.
We do. We do. I realised that this hat is actually the one that you were wearing in the thumbnail for that I used for this very show.
All right, this is brilliant. I love the way you dressed up as well. That's class.
Mate, well, I thought I had to make the effort. So sorry about that, and sorry to the viewers who are still on because we had a little bit of a technical issue there, but hopefully we'll be okay now. How are you, man? How are you? You doing good?
We're back on live. I'm doing good. How you
Yes.
doing,
How are you?
chat? Yeah, we had a bit of technical difficulty there. This is my first live stream interview, so I was trying to figure out how to use the goddamn thing. I'm doing good.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So listen, I just did a very, very long kind of intro really to talking about the book and everything like that. But did you want to
Yeah.
sort of just introduce yourself and tell guys who you are for anybody who doesn't know who you are and just a little bit about the book and so on?
Yeah, so my name is Mark Zoll from Ireland. I own Nomad.com. Some of you guys may know that. It's probably the number one resource right now for men who travel. I've written over 100 city guides, covering nightlife, girls, all that kind of thing. My first book, Naughty Nomad, got to number one on Amazon for travel writing. I've been to 110 countries. I'm also an entrepreneur. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The last couple of years I like to travel to war zones dressed as a Mexican pirate. So essentially this book
Yeah.
chronicles those adventures.
I mean, mate. I read the book which you obviously sent me, and it is. It's for a start. It's awesome. I mean, it's very entertaining. Some of the stuff you got up is absolutely nuts. I mean, you're talking about literally going into war zones and literally going into these dangerous areas, and not only that, but dressed as a pirate as well. But it seems like you were actually
dressed
attracted,
like this, man.
Mate. Nuts. I mean, but it seems you're actually attracted to the danger, or you were attracted to the danger. Is that right?
Well, basically, I got my first taste of dangerous situations when I went to the Congo when I was 20, and
Okay.
I always thought that was the best bit of my trip. You know, we did Cairo to Cape Town, and went the whole way from north to southern Africa, and we ended up smuggling a load of drugs across 7 borders into the Kivu during the height of the conflict, and it was such a rush.
Wow.
That it always kind of stuck with me. And then we did the whole Mexican pirate thing, and we only went to Kosovo at the time, but that felt a bit edgy.
Yeah.
And then we decided West Africa, Cote d'Ivoire during the Civil War, and Cote d'Ivoire was the best part. Going into the war zone was the best part. So I was like, okay, where's next? Syria 2012. And then after that, I was like, okay, where do we go next? What's the most dangerous place in the whole world? And the most dangerous place at the time was probably, according to Google anyway, it was Mogadishu, Somalia. I'm talking $1,000 a day for security. You need 12 armed guards, warlords, pirates, Al-Shabaab. So it came to its logical conclusion, I guess.
I mean, that is it's just sort of staggering, really. I mean, and it can't put.
Sorry, Troy, you're breaking up on me a little bit there.
I'm just,
Troy. All right. Yeah, you might have to kill the video there and just do audio, I think. YouTube can't handle your pirateness. Am I the only one on now? Hello, chat. Am I the only one on? Is there anyone out there? Yes. In the chat, your connection. All right. It is Troy. It's not just me. I'm here on my own. Well, I'll entertain you guys. Hello. I'm taking over Troy's show. This is the Mark Zolo show now. Forget about the other guy. I'm going to bring a bit of Mexican pirate charm. Anybody got any questions while Troy gets connected? By the way, I'm tame compared to some of my friends. I got friends who'd wear like fake mustaches this size and carry around giant inflatable bananas or giant inflatable chilies. And it was, yes, okay, in the chat. Yeah, so we even bought a pet chicken once, Captain Cluck. And Captain Cluck traveled with us through to Cote d'Ivoire during the Civil War with Bagbo there. We bought him in Liberia. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff, I have to say. As you can imagine, when you show up, am I just me now? Right, yes, I've officially taken over the show. Right, so Troy's gone. Sorry, Troy. I'm sieging your YouTube channel. This is the Mark Solo channel now. Arr. That's what we do. That's what we do. Yeah, I'm not sure how much of an introduction he gave me, but anyway, so I might as well shill while I'm here. He got the virus.
Hey man, sorry about this. I think the coronavirus is killing my internet, dude. I'm really, really sorry about this.
No problem. I kept them well entertained while you were gone. I took over.
Did you? You told them some naughty stories. I hope.
Yeah.
But mate, I mean, like, you know, the mind boggles really about some of the stuff that you've done. And I mean, did you ever feel fear during these periods? Did you ever have that feeling in the back of your head of like, say the night before you fly to Mogadishu? Do you think shit? This, you know, like seriously, the shit could hit the fan here.
You obviously haven't got to the last two chapters then, have you?
Well, I have. No, I finished. I finished the book, but I just wanted to know, just
what happened?
You know, well, no, I just from your own. Okay. Like, it's almost like it's too good to be true because I get what happens in the book, but I'm just asking you, like, honestly, did you ever were there points where you're like, oh fuck, you know?
Okay, so I'll give a bit of backstory to the guys. So the night before we head to Mogadishu, our security detail fell through, the guys who were supposed to protect us. And we got this email saying they're not going to endorse war zone tourism and basically cancel your trip. It's fucking dangerous here. We don't endorse war zone tourism. And essentially at that point, our group split up. Only two of us decided to get on the plane. Of course, I was shitting bricks. But if you remember in that story as well, what just happened to me that day or the night before was fucking terrifying as well. Like I held for ransom by those crazy bitches. I'm not going to give out too much away, but
that's mental. That's mental. And the thing about where was it with the girl with the unfortunate protruding tail light?
Liberia. She had an extended coccyx. It was gross. It was like a load of rocks, like trying to burst under her tailbone. It was not sexy. Not sexy.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not. That's great. I mean, but some of these incidents are just crazy. But I mean, can you talk us through going back a little bit before you got into the really crazy stuff? How did the Naughty Nomad site come about? How did you get into sort of writing about this stuff in the first place? Because as you say, I think it's fair to say now your site is the premium resource now for guys looking to travel, isn't it? Particularly after things have changed over with Rouge, for example. So how did you sort of get into it in the first place?
Well, I mean, I started backpacking. Well, I had a really good adventure when I was 18. I was very lucky. We have this thing called Angashka. You guys call it the Duke of Edinburgh Award.
Oh yeah.
And part of that is you have to go on an adventure. And my girlfriend at the time happened to be from this little town called Mulla, County Cavan. Yeah. And that's the same town where Ernest Shackleton's I think cousin, Jonathan Shackleton, lived. And he used to do these excursions to Antarctica. So I got in with him and he got me, I had to write this letter and basically got me on this excursion to Antarctica for 2 weeks. Yeah. And that was the most incredible experience of my life. You know, the Drake Passage, the roughest sea in the world. We actually ended up having to rescue a Russian ship called the Vavilov. It got stuck in the ice. It got so cold. And we got stuck in the ice. We had the second strongest non-nuclear icebreaker, Polar Star. And we got stuck as well. That's how bad it was. And the only way we were going to save ourselves was for the Vavilov to ram into the back of our icebreaker and combine all our horsepower to edge out of the ice. And the whole back of the back stern got destroyed and everything. Wow. So after that journey, I just had a lust for travel. So I always did really adventurous backpacking trips. Well, most guys were doing interrailing or going around Europe when they were 19, 20 during college. I was like, 19, we went all around Southeast Asia. A
Yeah.
friend of mine, and my friend basically knocked up a chick. He's still there. One of the guys, we lost him very early on that
Back
trip.
down.
And then the other one was Cairo to Cape Town. And I noticed that comparing other stories with other backpackers, our stories were not like anyone else's, because we
Yeah.
always kind of took things to an extreme. I guess I
Yeah.
just had a crazy bunch of mates, and everyone was just telling me, you should write a book, you should write. And I felt like it was almost like an obligation. So
Yeah.
and then it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. It was a cycle. So I got into my niche, and that perpetuated it. I had to kind of fulfill the role. So in a
Yes.
way, it was a bad thing as well. I write about that in the book, because I kind of became a performance monkey. I was always taking things to the next extreme. How many girls could I pull? I was like, I was on public record, or how many dangerous
Yeah.
places would I go to? How I
Yeah.
purposely got myself into dangerous situations so I could tell stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is kind of one of the things with the trade, isn't it? Really, in a sense, because when you put yourself on that public platform and you're telling people these stories, then you do get that sense of having to live up to it, don't you? And it's I've experienced something of that myself, but I certainly I'm friends with Tom Torero, and actually we went to Bosnia last year, and we were using your site to check out a
Nice.
couple of places. And Bosnia's kind of, have you been to Bosnia? That's kind of a slightly edgy place.
Yeah. I like Bosnia, actually. They're a great pub scene over there.
Yeah.
Moderately conservative, I would say,
Mm.
especially by European standards. I like the
Yes.
Balkans in general, though. It definitely is edgy. How many people go to Sarajevo? It's no, I mean,
Yeah.
there are no Ryanair flights going there. It's very few. Those places are dying to death. Those gems. I think the next place I'd recommend people to go to, somewhere like Georgia, to Azerbaijan, Armenia, great part of the world as well, but very conservative. Don't go there to party and pick
Yeah.
up, unless it's more for wife hunting. But I mean,
Mm.
if you show up in a place dressed like this, things happen. Yeah.
Are there any times where because obviously what I found interesting was what you described in terms of like you walk into the venue and the guys are all looking at you like, what the hell, and the girls are all swarming around you, like, and it's very interesting that response. But did you get much pushback from guys? Did it ever result in fights and things like this when you've been to some of these places?
You would think so, but no, it's so disarming. Like I'm actually a moderately dressed Mexican pirate. Like, some of my friends would wear giant fake mustaches, come in with giant inflatable bananas, or
Yeah.
Jedi, like glow in the dark swords. People just thought we were idiots. So they didn't. The guys are just like, psh,
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
guys. Just to answer that guy Scott there, what's the most dangerous place? I would say most dangerous. Cote d'Ivoire at the time was pretty
Yeah.
dangerous.
Mm.
Djibouti, Somali. The most dangerous place, I guess. Usually in the most, for example, in Mogadishu, there's no bars or there's no drinking. It's in terms of
Yeah.
dangerous place, the answer is Cote d'Ivoire for that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. And do you think that before you came on, right, I was sort of like, I was going off into a bit of a spiel about the pirate symbolism, because I know that obviously you're doing it for a laugh and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But actually there's actually a sort of like, there's a sort of a symbolism to it as well, isn't there? Because you're basically positioning yourself as, what is the pirate, the marauder who's coming in to basically take what he wants, and the bandit, the criminal. And do you think that girls on some primal level, they kind of respond to that?
Absolutely, it's basically caveman game.
Yeah.
Often when we were going to pick up girls, we wouldn't even talk. It'd be more like grunts, like yar yar, and you'd poke them, and you'd pull their hair, and it was it's very caveman-y. But if you look at, I think, romance novels, the most popular stereotypes are things like, sorry, just turn off my phone there. The most popular stereotypes are things like gladiators, pirates. What would be another typical one? God, Vikings or something like that.
Yeah.
This would work. It's the same kind of thing. It's almost like a primitive. I would just call it caveman game almost.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of? There's a dude called Bronze Age Pervert. He's.
I heard your
Do you know
I
that
heard
dude?
your little preamble. Actually, it was
Did
your
you hear?
preamble. Yeah, yeah. I got snippets of it. Yeah, yeah.
Because I was cutting out a little bit there, but I won't read the whole thing. But interestingly, he talks about pirates quite a lot in his book, and he says men should be pirates, right? And he
Arr.
says, yeah, and he says women never love the shopkeeper, the timid merchant with the nasal, yes, exactly, with the nasal voice. Not even the clockmaker or craftsman. They've always loved the knight, the sailor in love with the wild idea of the sea, the adventurer, and the pirate. And I mean, his whole thing is I won't go off into a whole spiel about him because obviously, we're talking about your book. But I think his whole thing is basically that guys need to be more dangerous. He talks about masculinity, but he's interpreting that as you need to be a bit wild, you need to be a bit riskier, you need to live on the edge more. And that's something that probably people in our generation, do less. But you've really taken it to the max, haven't you? I mean, would you encourage guys to go down the same route, or what's your thinking about that?
Well, I encourage people to do what they kind of want. I mean, at my essence, this is sort of like what I've been like since I was a kid. Like I always loved Indiana Jones and James Bond, and I always
Yeah,
saw myself as someone who was, went on great adventures and that kind of thing. I couldn't wholeheartedly recommend people go to places like Somalia because they would be taking their lives in their hands.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, but I think people should always push their boundaries. You should always be learning. You should always be trying new things. I'm just the way I live my life is I live my life, and if that inspires some guys to take chances and take risks and you know just go crazy a little bit. I think everyone needs to go crazy a little bit in their 20s, especially because how do you know yourself if you don't know your boundaries?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'd agree. You need to, but you've sort of you've perhaps quietened down a little bit, and there is a little bit of a character arc in the book where you talk
Yeah,
about, at the end, you talk about the sort of the lessons you've learned and stuff. And there is there's a little bit of a sort of, I've come to realize the more important things in life, and you sort of settled a little bit. But I don't think that the bug for travel has fully left you, has it? I don't
yeah.
think it will ever leave you.
No, no. I mean, I got plans. I don't want to reveal them, but they're pretty
Yeah,
goddamn adventurous plans in a on
really.
a whole different. Yeah, yeah. Oh no, that's never going to leave me. It's just the frequency is not as much as it used to be. For example, I just don't go on like long 3-month periods because I got big projects now, open bars. But like
Yeah.
I'm dying to go to the likes of Afghanistan soon. I was like last year I was in the likes of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Nepal,
Wow.
which were adventurous enough. But I definitely have quietened down, but I still plan on doing some cool ass adventures. It's just
Yeah.
I got different priorities right now. My priorities are building my base here. So this is my first piece of real estate. We're opening a third bar next month. I have an
Are
import
they
and
all in the
export
same
company.
sort of area, or are they a bit split
Yeah,
out?
they're all. You can walk to all of them pretty
Oh,
much.
nice. Okay.
Yeah, so kind of I'm Mr. Gentrification here on the island of Malta. That's my. I basically copied what was going on in Harlem in New York. There was this little in Hamilton Heights. There was this little bar. I think it was called Harlem Tavern or something. But one cool bar moved into this crappy little neighborhood, and within 2 years, like all the students, the gay community moved up there, and there was within 2 years there was 7 bars open around that block, and they just
Yeah.
went in and gentrified. So what I went in was I go see places that have cheap rents that are completely underdeveloped, because they don't know what they're doing here in bars. So I'd go
Mm.
in, set up, craft beer, cocktails, basically copy the American model, and it's been very successful. And it's kind of snowballed very, very fast. Um,
Wow.
so so I'm enjoying that right now. I just want to set it up so I can, feel comfortable with my security in the future when I build a family. Because I realized since, what happened with the, like, let's say Roosh with the PayPal and a lot of other guys with censorship, and I see the trends online. I'm starting to think that in our space and in your space too, maybe a little bit because it's the
Yeah.
same kind of thing. That it's sort of like a castle built on sand. I'm just a bit wary of it moving forward.
I think, yeah,
Do
and
you
I
feel
think
like that
that's
yourself?
A bit, yeah. I mean, I was talking to some guys about various things today because it's sort of like, you're on different platforms. So, like, obviously, there's YouTube, but I use some different platforms. Like, I've got some books on Gumroad. I use Amazon. I use Patreon a little bit. There's all these different platforms, but you're always thinking, and like I'm pretty polite, really. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm not putting out any sort of like the type of stuff that you see from some people, but nevertheless, in the current climate, you kind of think, well, I could get chucked off this platform at any point. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think you need to have you've got to have something else going on. I think you need to have another string to your bow. And I mean, I've got some other bits and pieces in the background that I've got as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it increasingly it is a very risky area, isn't it? But saying that, I mean, are you still full on with the site in the same way that you were before?
God, no, I'm terrible. I think when I moved to New York a couple of years ago, I really quieted it down because I didn't do any travel when I was in New York. I was stuck in America. And I kind of focused. I released my second book. It was all about New York City. So that I kind of, yeah. And by the way, you can kind of explore the world in New York as well because there's so many tribes and areas and cultures.
Yeah,
it's almost like a world city. So I've definitely lost interest in blogging. I don't actually really enjoy it anymore, to be honest. It's such a pain in the editing. I that's why actually I'm kind of like what you're doing now with live streaming and YouTube. I'm thinking I might go in that direction a bit more.
Yeah. Well, I picked up this live streaming thing because basically because other guys I knew were doing it, and it's quite fun. It's
a bit scary though.
It's scary. Yeah.
What would I say?
Yeah, in case you come out with some like outrageous thing, but no, it's kind of cool. It's quite fun, and I find it can be quite a creative process as well because you can talk about something that you pick a topic that you're interested in. You can go off on it and talk for like an hour or 2 hours or something about this thing, and that is as creative a process for me as it is to write something. Really, it's kind of cool. But yeah, so when you were in New York, were you doing a sort of corporate type job there?
No, actually, I was working in bars.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. There's really good money over there in bars. You can make a couple of hundred at night, and you can really live a good life over there. So I was doing that, and my finger in a few other pots. And basically, some nights I would go to like 10 venues a night to research my book. I went really crazy with it. And also I had more crazy experiences, I think, well, in terms of in bedroom experiences in New York than anywhere else in the world. That place is degenerate.
Mate,
Like,
sorry,
go on.
I said I need to read your New York book next, actually, because I've always loved New York, and it's carry on.
Great, but unfortunately, I didn't include. I was kind of in a rush to get it out, so I didn't include any stories. It's purely a guidebook. It's all about them. But I think when I do a second edition of it, if I go back over, I'll include the stories, or I'll publish my stories at some point because, god damn, I have some mad stuff. I had definitely more threesomes in my life than ever in these 2 years over there. And I had one time I had a transgender woman fly me over to LA to sleep with his wife because the penis wasn't there anymore. If that makes sense.
Well, it was a nice gesture of
She was lovely. All right, she was lovely. Would you get banned for this? I don't know what to call her. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, internet.
That's my channel down now. But no, well, that's it. Whereabouts were you living in New York?
Hamilton Heights, Harlem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So northern Manhattan, and I was living in Sunnyside, Queens for a little bit as well. So they were my two areas, and it was really cool though, because I got to. It was also parties I used to go to. You needed a passport to go into these things, and you go into this, and you'd have people dressed like vampires. You have a midget dressed as Marilyn Manson singing on stage. People going around in gimps masks, being. I got a great picture. From this. People being led around. I had a Russian girl that I used to bring around on a leash, and we used to go like. Restaurants, just regularly restaurants. I used to bring her on a collar and leash.
Really?
Yeah,
that's interesting. Were you into the sort of that kind of BDSM type thing, or was it just a one-off with her?
I dabbled. Things like nude masquerade parties where you just show up with a mask and a cock ring kind of thing.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting because I've always quite liked that stuff. I mean, I've written some stuff about. Particularly here in London, there's a few things here in London, like Torture Garden is one.
I'd say that's pretty wild. If the underground there as well.
There's a few things, yeah. I mean, it's like everywhere. It's sort of got cleaned up a bit, but there's a few things going on here, and also Berlin. So I go to Berlin quite a lot, and there's some interesting places. So there's some interesting places over there, like Kit Kat Club and stuff like that. I've written about, and there's some crazy stuff I've seen there. Some mental kind of things going on there. It's a very degenerate kind of scene over there still. Although I think coronavirus is killing it at the moment because I'm hearing that all the places are closing down for a month.
Well, I'm stuck here now. I was supposed to go to Ireland tomorrow.
Really?
And the Maltese government just announced that all incoming flights, everyone has to be quarantined. So they're completely shutting off. All the gaming companies here are sending everybody home to work from home. Everyone who can work from home is going to, and they even talk about maybe closing down the bars and restaurants. And if you go to all the supermarkets here, all the shelves are empty. People are panicking. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, it is. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to know what to say about it, isn't it? Except that it's very disturbing. I mean, I'm personally less concerned about actually getting it, but I think that just the ramifications of this thing are pretty scary, aren't they? Certainly economically, and just as well. I mean, it's funny because I was reading your book, and I've had a bit of a yen to. I haven't been out of London for a little bit, but you get a bit of a yen to travel. It's sort of coming into spring. You think it'd be nice to get on a plane, go somewhere. And now all these places are closing their borders. I mean, Ukraine's closed the borders, Czech Republic's closed the borders. It's sort of like, and it's like when the ability to travel is like taken away from you, suddenly you're like shit. This is you really value it, don't you?
I'm much more fearful about people going crazy than I am about the actual virus. I think that this is going to last longer than we expect as well. So I'm not so optimistic about it. Yeah, I mean, did you watch that podcast with Joe Rogan and that virus expert by any chance?
No, I haven't seen that one yet. No.
Well, it makes it sound like this is kind of only the beginning. This thing could go on for 6 months to 9 months. It could be, and I mean, it's interesting to see how the market's responding as well. I think we're only beginning to see the ramifications. It's a bit worrying now, to be honest. It's a bit worrying.
Yeah, totally.
Africa's probably the safest place to be right now.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, Russia was my Russian visa lasted until the end of, I think it lasted till the end of March. So I was thinking about getting a cheeky little trip in there. And then just as I was looking at it, then they're saying Moscow's was making people self-quarantine for 2 weeks, like you're talking about in Malta. And it's sort of like, well, suddenly you can't go anywhere, but my tourist abilities are sort of like, meaningless on the bigger scale of like what this is going to do to, I don't know, economically and socially. It's just I don't know.
I have a question for you, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Africa, or what's the most dangerous place you've been yourself?
Oh, mate, not very, to be honest. I haven't been to Africa. I'd love to go. I would love to go to Africa, though. I really, really would. But I am not. I mean, this is why I admire you so much, because you've really taken it to. I've never really been that sort of traveler that I've taken it to that extent. I mean, I've always been. There are certain places that I've always been obsessed with, and I've gone many times. So New York is one of them, actually. Berlin's one of them. And there are various other places, like I love Eastern Europe. I love Russia, things like that.
I love Eastern Europe too.
Yeah. Also the Balkans as well. Also the Balkans. I feel like within Europe, I don't know about you, but I feel like within Europe, the Balkans is there's still a bit of an edginess there, isn't there?
Definitely. Absolutely. In fact, you know what? I've had more fun. I would say out of all the trips I've done, the most fun I've ever had has probably been the Balkans.
Really?
Yeah, like in terms of just absolute fun, just straight up like good, clean fun. Balkans and Scandinavia as well, actually.
Here's a question, right? Would you say that guys, or not guys, but people in general, would you say that people are too nervous about travel? Because I think people, not coronavirus, but just generally, that fear of leaving.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. Most of these places are never as bad as they seem. Like Syria is a good example. Right now, nobody would go into Syria, but it's quite safe, especially if you visit Damascus. Damascus is very, very calm now. You know, if you
Really?
avoid the north, yeah, and it's a beautiful city. And you know, the great thing about fear is if you go into the fire, that's often where you'll find the best gems, because if everyone else is scared to go there, you have the place to yourself, and you always have the best experiences in those circumstances. I mean, Damascus, when in 2012 there was fighting outside the suburbs where we went, we were the only non-Syrians there, and it was like going back in time to the Middle Ages. It was so cool. I loved it.
Yeah, yeah. What
But
about
people are
somewhere
too
like
nervous.
yeah? What about somewhere like the war zone in, say, Ukraine, for example? I mean, I would imagine that's sort of like for you, that's like a afternoon picnic, isn't it? I would have
Yeah,
thought.
that's a playground stuff. That's playground stuff. It'd be so tame for me now. I wouldn't even be interested. I'd be much more interested in going somewhere like Afghanistan or like northern
Well,
Iraq or Baghdad or something.
okay, here's one thing that I think people get nervous about with travel. It's not so much getting killed or something. It's more like the corrupt governments, corrupt legal systems, things like that. And we've all seen like things like Midnight Express and these things where people, you know, banged up abroad and all this kind of stuff, where somebody gets, you know, you get in some dodgy situation. Really?
Yeah, no, I was in jail in Siberia once.
Wow.
I've nearly got arrested a couple of times in Africa, but it's just you just bribe them, you know. Just it's all about just handing over cash. You know, it's funny. I say it like it's normal, and you do get used to it over there. Bribery is just a way of life. It's not a big deal. You can pretty much get away with anything if you're willing to pay for it. That's the good thing about corruption and anarchy, is that money talks. If you commit crime in Europe, you know, you don't get away with it so much.
Yeah.
That's why like Malta's lovely and corrupt as well. So I kind of like that about it.
And hopefully the UK now as well, because now after Brexit, I'm thinking like after Brexit, maybe we can become a sort of like a bit of a rogue state. You know what I mean? And it could be like, you know, were you a Brexit fan, or what's your feeling on that?
You know, I didn't have too much of a strong opinion about it. Being Irish, and I don't live in Ireland anymore. I kind of admire the fact that they did, because it took a lot of balls. If I was living over there, I don't think I would have been for it because the whole work and travel thing. But you know, I don't have too much of a strong opinion about it. I think fair play to you, because I don't like Europe, to be honest. I think they're a tyranny. I don't like the way their leaders are elected. I think they're authoritarian. I don't see it going in a good direction. I see regulations piling on. And all empires fall, and it's only a matter of time before Europe does. So I say fair play to you. I hope it works out.
Well, what can go wrong? But
yeah,
so Find the Formula has a question. Which countries have the hottest girls? Obvious question, but had to ask it.
It's a consensus, but I kind of would agree with the consensus. I'm going to put it to a tribe, more so a tribe, and that's, I think, Eastern Slavs. So, you know, Ukrainians, Belarusians. That part. I was just there 2 weeks ago, and I think they're very good looking, to be honest. Colombians as well, quite good looking, but they're different type of hot, you know. I like Princess Jasmine type of girls, you know, dark skin, black hair. I thought Armenians were lovely. I thought you know, I think the Amharic tribe in Ethiopia is really lovely. Fulani girls in West Africa. But I have to say, objectively, I'm gonna go with Ukraine now, to be honest.
Well,
what about yourself?
Well, I would agree. I mean, I like that look. Although my girl, who I'm with now, is Indian actually, and I've always loved Indian girls. I think, you know, and she's very pale. She's quite pale skin, but very sort of
the type I like, because my girl's Colombian. So they similar kind of sultry, sexy.
Yeah.
You know,
But what's interesting about women is that it's like a sort of, it's like a box of chocolates, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are so many different flavors, and it's like, you know,
You get spoiled though. That's the problem. It's a paradox of choice.
Yeah, but I would say, I mean, yes, I think the Slavic, and clearly, there's something in that, isn't there? Because clearly, where do all the top models come from? It's no coincidence that commercially these girls are used. But I mean, when I was in, when I've been to Kiev, I mean, you walk around and it's like, I think the density or whatever the word is, in terms of the like if you go to Russia, you walk around and you'll see some stunning women there for sure. But in Kiev, it's just like every second one is amazing.
Because you got a lot. The problem with Moscow and stuff like that, you get too much influence as well from the east. There's a lot of there's a lot of mix in there, so you don't get it's not concentrated Eastern Slavs. Where in Belarus and Ukraine, it's very concentrated. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. The thing about the Ukrainians versus the Belarusians as well, they're a bit smaller as well in Ukraine, so that's kind of can be attractive as well.
Do you like
it's ridiculous.
Do you like that very modelly, very slender like look, or are you a bit more?
I like it all, bro. I like that. I could have or some mama bear from the Congo with a hip to waist ratio to here.
Tail.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all. You know what though? I'm not so into. When I was younger, I liked Asians, but I've been I don't find them so attractive anymore. I don't know why.
Korean girls are very beautiful, I think.
Well, you were in Seoul, were you?
Mm.
Yeah. See, I was maybe I was there at the wrong time of year. I was. They've good, lovely long legs and stuff, but I'm in the face. I know some of them have surgery, obviously, but I don't know. I don't know why I've kind of. I had a Japanese girl for a girlfriend for a long time. She was lovely, but you know what it is. I know what it is now. It's actually I'm talking about for relationships, because for me, and this I don't have to be careful what I say, but having a girl from East Asia as a girlfriend is sort of like having a pet. No, that's right. You know what I mean? Like they always agree with you. They're very coy. They don't really there's not much crack out of them, in terms of chat or drinking. It's always like yes, and it's for me it's not it gets old. So
well, you want a bit of a balance, don't you? Because I suppose what you don't want is a sort of ball breaking.
No, you don't want stereotypical chick from Harlem. And I well, not to dish Harlem girls. I mean, some ratchet chick, like some because I dated a girl from Harlem and she was absolutely lovely. So I don't want to point them out with the same brush, but you know what I mean. Some loud-mouthed, masculine, foul-mouthed, basically pirate.
Yeah. Well, the classic sort of woman that in the manosphere, let's say, gets slated the whole time. The classic sort of like ball breaker, entitled kind of. You don't really want.
Yeah,
what I would suggest.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them over in your part of the world,
mate. There is in London. It's like
English girls are tough cookies. They're like pirates. Irish girls too, man. They're like pirates. They're drinking, swearing. Blah, 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 blah. They're like lads.
They are. And I dated this girl actually. I nearly I moved in with this girl for a brief period until I threw her out because it was just intolerable. But who was very much an English princess, very much a London-y sort of type princess,
like from Kent or something.
Yeah. She was actually, yeah. And it's like
I like those actors though.
Yeah. But they've got the job. They get their nails done. Like everything's on point. They watch, and it's almost like they're pre-packaged and they come out the packet and they're all the sort of the same. And they all basically want to get married before 30, and they want to, and it's all the same programming. But the ring's got to be from Tiffany's and it's got to cost a certain amount of money and blah, all that kind of stuff. And she was, and it's I don't know. I just couldn't see myself. I wouldn't have been able to have continued in that situation. No. But as well, she used to swear all the time, and I'm not one of these dudes. I'm not one of these kind of types who are like, back to the 50s, and women should be seen and not heard, and any of that stuff. I'm not into that kind of stuff at all. But I have to say, she was swearing the whole time like a bloody sailor, and it did put me off a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It was a little bit like,
It's not. I don't think it's sexy. I mean, you're gonna bring that home to your parents. If you're dating,
Yeah.
yeah. See the meerkat here. How you doing, man? So many Irish
Mm.
girls going for Polish lads. Yeah. If you go back to Ireland now, my village is hilarious. Everyone's either hooked up with an Eastern European girl or they're from Brazil. I mean, Brazil have just
Really?
invaded. Yo, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Irish guys hooking up with Brazilian girls and Eastern Europeans. It's a pandemic over there.
Really?
I
Wow.
went down to my local village pub, which when I was younger, you wouldn't see someone as paler than everyone looks like me basically. It's all like milky. It was like
Mm.
United Nations down there at Christmas. Like all my mates from school, they're like one has a Malaysian girlfriend, one has an Indian girlfriend, Polish, loads of Brazilians. It's like what the hell? Does anyone date any Irish girls? I say they're so frustrated at the minute. So I think they're starting to clue up a bit. The problem with
Oh,
Ireland has gotten very, very Americanized, especially the younger generation.
really?
Well, I mean, when I was young, divorce was illegal in my country. Imagine that. It was illegal when I was a
Yeah.
kid. And then in a generation, they've we got the abortion and divorce and gay marriage. It all came as one through referendum. Not saying that's wrong or right, but it just goes to show you how much things have changed in just a single generation.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Where were you? What part were you from originally?
I'm from a place called Meath, just outside Dublin.
Okay.
Used to be the old capital in the days of the kings. It's where
Wow.
Newgrange
Okay.
is. It's where the temples that are older than the Egyptian pyramids are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I grew up around like horses and cows and stuff like that. I had quite a nice childhood now, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds nice. I mean, Dublin is a beautiful place for sure. Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of like,
Well, we wouldn't say that if we're outside Dublin. We dish Dublin all the time. But
yeah,
yeah,
fair enough.
it's good fun though. I tell you what, I'll give to Dublin. And it's same with London. There's very few places in the world where you can party 7 nights of the week and have just a blast, go 110%. There's very few you can do that on a Sunday, a Monday. I could probably name them off the top of my head, and Dublin is one of those places. The nightlife is very consistent, and same with obviously London, New York,
Berlin
in fact,
Berlin probably to
yes,
some.
Berlin as well. I'm trying to think. Malta's like that as well. You go
Is
down to
it?
Patcheville. Yeah, this place called Patcheville, 6 a.m. every night. It's messy.
What sort of stuff they play, like techno type stuff, or?
No, it's just charts, a bit of everything. It's basically like a Santa Ponza or Nayapa Ibiza, like a mini kind of thing like that. A lot of tourists, everyone's partying all the time. So you can always find a party here. And I try to think of other places that are like that. I'm sure there's some in Asia. I'm sure Bangkok and a few others. They're rare in Europe. They're rare enough. So I'll give that to Dublin now, in fairness.
Yeah. Well, I think it's becoming a bit more. I mean, the thing with London, though, right, is that, and this is happening all over. It's the gentrification. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of clubs have actually closed down in London because everyone wants to buy up the property to make into luxury flats and stuff.
Oh no!
So that's happening.
The Brooklyn edge, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. That's happening a lot over here, and you can start to see it happening in Berlin as well, actually, because you think Berlin's changed a lot since I've been going there regularly in the last like 10 years or so. It's gone for it's still gritty in parts, but it's becoming a lot more yummy mummy now, and it's sort of like it's, I don't know, it's a bit depressing, really. You want to keep the degeneracy going,
Yeah, I like, and a good example of this trend I noticed was in Phuket, for example. I went there first, 12 years ago, and it was kind of cool. You could have fun, and most of the bars are full of hookers and not interested. But there were certain clubs where it was just, normal clubs that were really good fun, laid back, loads of people. And now you go there. I went there. I was training at MMA there 2 years ago, and it's all bottle service. And don't leave your table. And it's a fortune to sit down. It's gotten completely crap. And I see that trend happening throughout Europe. I see it happening. Everywhere. Just, I think it just comes with greed.
Yeah.
But that's why it's fun to do what I'm doing. Like if you're coming around to dodgy spots or Africa, you'll find that kind of loose wildness that you look for.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I really like. Like I like the dodgier places, to be honest. I mean, just on what you just said, I mean, what a place like Ibiza, I've been to Ibiza many times over the years, and I mean that's changed a lot. You know, that used to be sort of like you go to space on a Monday morning, and there'd be like drag queens off their heads pushing each other around in trolleys and stuff. It was mental. Now it's all like bottle service, and it's all like it's all like, oh, I've parked the Lambo outside kind of thing. And it's all a bit like, there's money there, but it's all a bit boring. It's like, I've always preferred but where in Europe would you say there is an element of that? I mean, to me, the only place seems to be the Balkans, but even then, places that they're starting to get more money now, aren't they? There's like Romania's coming up and everything, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But there are gems now. Even have you ever been to Christiania in Copenhagen?
Oh, what the smoking part?
Yeah, man, that place felt like it was a post-apocalyptic wonderland. People in masks and around barrels of fire. They're selling joints and stuff. And that's pretty sophisticated Western Europe. So there definitely are gems out there. You can always find it. This metal cova in Slovenia. It's like that. They have this compound they took over in the capital, Ljubljana.
Everything like that. It's where the biggest market is on the internet and everything. But it's always seemed to me that Europeans seem a bit more irreverent than Americans. Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems like we take the piss more, basically. Do you know what I mean? Or we're less sort of, I don't know. There's a sort of earnestness, isn't there, about the Americans that I think goes hand in hand with it.
It's hard to describe. Even the way they treat work and travel. They get their 2 weeks off, and they don't travel as much. I think we're quite privileged in Europe. And the whole taking the piss thing, we are definitely more reverent. I just think we have a better work-life balance, and that's a cultural thing. If you go over to East Asia, it's even worse. They're 10 days off a year. God, we're just lucky, I guess. But I don't know why that is. I couldn't muse on it, but we definitely take the piss more.
Yeah, especially, for sure.
Especially our Irish and English. Like the British Isles in general. Like we're very laddish. Like an Irish or a British stag party is always a shit show. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
Americans would be horrified.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a certain sort of preppy, clean cutness about some Americans, isn't there? That I think is sort of like, you couldn't imagine somebody like Pete Doherty or Sid Vicious or somebody coming from America. Really, it'd be kind of hard to.
No. But I love Americans. I have to say, I absolutely love them. They're so friendly.
100%. 100% is.
I love living over there so much, and especially like having the Irish accent and the bartender stuff. I felt like a rock star over there, man. It was fucking.
Is it true that it's slightly easier to get a US visa as if you're Irish? Is that the case?
We have a pretty close relationship. I was there on a graduate visa, so after I finished my master's in international relations, they gave me a year work visa.
Okay, yeah. I don't think you can do that from Britain. From England. I don't think. I could be wrong though. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if anyone ever has an opportunity to live over there, or even Canada as well. I just love it over there so much. Manhattan is so great because you have Amazon in an hour or 2 hours. It'll be your place. Crazy.
Mate, I absolutely. I mean, I had a long love affair with Manhattan, with New York, and
they love the English accent too.
Yeah. And I must go back. I want to go back soon. Actually, I've been sort of hankering after going back. I've not been for a few years, and it's just awesome. I mean, the thing with New York is though, like I always wanted it to be like Taxi Driver. Do you know what I mean? I always wanted it to be like the sort of the seedy old, the grittiness, and I think it probably lost a bit of that, but it's still just a fantastic.
You can find it. You can find the grit.
Yeah, for sure.
It's there. You just have to scratch the surface.
Yeah. I used to go around like Alphabet City and stuff like that, the Lower East Side.
Like that. That was actually probably my favorite spot, like in Manhattan for sure. And Brooklyn as well, Bushwick and Williamsburg, but I like Lower East Side because it was close to me. But that's kind of more my scene. And you got everything in Lower East Side. You got like fancy places, complete dive bars. You got a whole spectrum there.
Yeah, for sure, man. By the way, how long have you got? Because I don't want to keep you for too long.
I'm all right. I have another 45 minutes, so I'm good. I got a book launch party tonight, so I'm actually it's on a pirate ship.
Really?
Yeah, I arranged the Black Pearl. For anyone in Malta who's listening, probably zero. But I arranged a book launch party on an actual pirate ship. So it's a
Whoa,
bar on the pirate ship. So
that's fantastic. Have you got
yeah.
have you got some mates coming over? You've got people who are in the book coming over.
Well, they're supposed to, but they quarant. The whole thing is a disaster now. They
Yeah,
stopped all inbound flights here, so everyone's cancelled flights. It's a disaster. I had mates flying over from America.
really. Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
mates coming over from America, like and they had to cancel because they were obviously the block flights there as well. So a bit of a disaster, but I'm here. I'm going to make the most of it. Have a few drinks. It would just be
Yeah.
good. So I'll make the most of it.
Definitely. Let's just go back to the book again, because obviously that here to plug the book, and
we're meandering. I'm sure like we'll have to meet up for a coffee, or I know you don't drink anymore, but and have a good chat sometime.
Mate, 100%. I mean, I'm down for Malta, to be honest. I'll probably head over to Malta at some point, so we should 100% meet up, because it would be a blast. I've been meaning to come to Malta for a while, actually. It's a fucking cool spot. But
yeah, the new bar we're opening is more in the heart of the action, and it's going to be cool. So I'll bring on a pub crawl of the 3 bars.
Mate, 100%. When does the season really kick off there? Is it like May, would you say, or?
Yeah, it starts pretty early, but I recommend coming June to November, because May can get pretty stormy, actually.
Oh, really? Okay. And then what's the weather like in the summer? It must be nice, right?
Glorious. I mean, where I go to work on my laptop, I walk 5 minutes. I have one of those gated electric scooters, and it's just waterfronts, Valletta. It's something from a movie, and it's all sun is shining. All this 300 days of sunshine. You can get up to 4 degrees and get a little bit hot, but at least you have the ocean there to cool you down. It's kind of paradise, man. To be honest, I love it here. Where I bought my place is 2 minutes walk from the waterfront, and it's right in the center. You don't need a car or.
Yeah. How come you, out of everywhere, then you ended up in Malta? Was it just because you loved the place and it was, saw an opportunity, or any?
Well, when I came back from New York City, I wanted to live somewhere in Europe because it was closer to home. And out of all my friends who traveled, who lived in Canada, Australia, Korea, wherever, and the Middle East, my mate in Malta, who actually, I'll go back to that story in a minute, but he had the best lifestyle. So I copied and pasted. But actually, how he ended up here was 10 years ago, we went as Mexican pirates. We sieged Malta for a week, and we were pulling left, right, and center. And he met a Swedish girl. He fell in love with her, and he moved over her for her. So he ended up here through that trip. And then it turns out like 7 or 8 years later, I followed him over because I loved his lifestyle.
Yeah.
Lifestyle.
Nice. Awesome. So find the formula saying anywhere else in America you like the girls as well as NYC, blah, blah.
Vegas and Northwest. I can't really. I've been to Washington. The bars close too early. California's way too spread out. Like LA, I find that way too spread out. I don't like the scene there too. The bars close too early. For me, like nothing comes close to New York. I mean, I haven't had that much experience. I'd love to go down to Miami. I don't know what that's like. I'm sure you'll have more. I'm sure it's even more fun in Middle America because you're more exotic.
Yes.
So you're not talking to an expert.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Vegas and I've been to Miami, and I mean, like, I'm going to, well, but coronavirus permitting, I'm going to Vegas in April to do an event with some of the Rule Zero guys.
I saw that. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, well, it will be awesome. But I mean, obviously, at the moment, it's kind of like, but at the moment, it's all going ahead. So I'll be over there in April, and that should be pretty cool. But I've been to
Rolo and Ryan Stone and all those lads.
That's right. Yeah, and John Modern Life Dating. Yeah,
yes,
so it's
John.
Yeah, and actually, yeah. Are you going to go on his show?
Yeah, John. John didn't send you an email, but I will shoot you an email. Come on.
Yeah, cool, man. Cool.
Rolo was saying he was going to have me on as well, but I think we just have to communicate a bit more. So I don't know when.
Oh, I can give him a nudge. I think he's got some stuff.
No. He said I think he's just so busy, man. He said absolutely, he'd love to have me on, and then I shot him an email. I think I can imagine that guy gets so many goddamn emails.
Oh, mate. I mean, obviously
he's blown up.
Yeah, exactly. But Vegas is like, I mean, I I like the idea of Vegas more than I like the actual place, if you know what I mean. Because I had this fantasy before I went to Vegas. I'm like, oh, it's going to be like really. I love the whole idea of the gambling and the neon lights and the seediness and everything like that. But it's sort of a bit. It's
very bottle servicey, is it?
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, that's one of the problems. But you can go further down the strip. When you go further down the strip, you've got some of the older places down there, and that's quite interesting. You've got like the old pawn shops and some more broken down hotels and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. I like it in a way because I like big clubs and fancy music, as I kind of like that stuff, but then I don't like it as well because in the back of my head I'm always thinking, but really I just want to be in some dive somewhere, where it's a bit more dodgy, So I've got a kind of a love-hate relationship with it, but it's a fun place. I've been to Miami as well, but that was a long time ago. I mean, beautiful. Like the beach is beautiful. Ocean Drive is really nice and everything like that. I'm told for game, it's an amazing place. But I think New York is the place that I love there the most is New York because it's got that European feel. It's a very cultural place. Like it's just got so much substance to it. I think for me,
absolutely.
And you've got women from all over the world, and it's great for dating.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's like the world. It's basically like the world city. For me, it's always been the capital of the planet. I always felt like that.
Well, they say
so go on.
They say if you stand in Times Square long enough, you'll see someone walking past or something like that, don't they? It's just like it.
You'd be surprised. It starts to feel like a small village after a while. You do bump into people. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Just to answer a question in the chat there. Yes, I did have a hair transplant. I had hair transplant 6 weeks ago in Turkey. Got stuff taken down here. I was going a bit light on top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a painless experience. I highly recommended it. It's only been 6 weeks. I love the results. I was going in the middle, you see. I was getting bald in the middle and not the sides. It looked a bit weird. Now, most people didn't notice. People just thought I got a haircut, but long term, it was annoying me.
Okay.
And any tips for guys looking to relocate from London to Eastern Europe? I'm sure you could help with answering that as well. Like it depends where you what you like. It's all about getting the balance right between conveniences and lifestyle. It depends what you're doing as well, your budget and all that.
Yeah, and you probably, if you're English or British, you might want to do it sooner rather than later because obviously with Brexit, it's going to become. I mean, I think at the moment it's almost like in the transition, we've got that bit of an amnesty period where we've still got freedom of movement. You can still relocate somewhere. After next year, it might get a bit harder.
Where would you move to? Where would you move if you were to relocate?
Well, I've actually got a place in Berlin. I've got a small place in Berlin, which sweet. I'm supposed to have relocated to, and I kind of kept coming back to London with my tail between my legs for various reasons. But that's another story. But so that would be a no-brainer for me. But if it was Eastern Europe, I was thinking about this the other day, and it's sort of like maybe Warsaw, because Warsaw is. I know some people in Warsaw. There's quite a few Brits in Warsaw in this space. It's quite central. It's easy to get around. It's very modern. Blah blah blah. The other place that I love is Budapest. Actually,
Budapest is cool.
I just think it's just beautiful. It's just an awesome.
Simplerkurt, that bar Simplerkurt.
Yes. Yeah. I love Budapest, and it's relatively inexpensive as well. Still, amazingly. Although I'm sure that will go through the roof at some point. So that would be a good one. Beyond that, I don't know really. I mean, it depends where but you're right. You've got to get that balance between. It's cheaper than the UK, and it's certainly cheaper than London. Wherever you go, which is good. But on the other hand, you've got to make sure that you've got the things that you need there as well, the infrastructure and all that. So,
I think I'd go to Belgrade and Kiev. That'd be my two choices.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah. I mean, Kiev as well, for sure.
Well, it depends what you want. It depends what you want.
Yeah. 6 and 7. What's the goal of going higher? I think it's got to be a pirate hat, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. This kind of thing, by the way, this whole thing, you need to do it with friends, because if you show up to a place like this alone, it doesn't work. That's one thing. It's like anyone who's read, I still think it's it's an oldie but a goodie, is the Venusian Arts Handbook by the Mystery Method. That was I kind of I'm old school. I used to take a lot of chapters out of that. And he talked about peacocking, and I've just taken peacocking to an extreme, I guess. Yes, but we're gonna go back to something. What was it?
Well, the book, but
Oh yeah, I'm telling the book.
The small matter
Oh
of.
yeah, actually, yeah. Check it out. Boom, there it is. My life's. You can get it at
Hang on a sec,
MexicanPirates.com,
let
guys.
me take this off the thing. That is a great cover. That's a really, really cool cover as well. Did you design that?
I designed it myself, actually.
Did you? That's really nice. Really, really
Yeah,
cool.
it's actually it's 50% off for anyone listening for the next 2 days.
Where do people get it? Is it just Amazon, or can they go to your site as well, or what's the crack?
Sorry, I got a message there. Say that again.
Where do they get it? Is it Amazon, or do they go to
MexicanPirates.com?
Ah, okay. MexicanPirates.com. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, MexicanPirates.com.
And just to recap on what's in it, because it really is the story of your most extreme travels, isn't it? But did you just want to recap on what people can expect when they grab it?
Yeah, sure. Well, so basically, it comes in 3 parts. The first part is very short. It just starts about how it comes. I've done pirate maps to kind of indicate this is like the Balkans where it all started, and Hispaniola, Haiti after the earthquake, Dominican Republic. Story how my first night in our first night in Dominican Republic. Actually, I don't want to give it away. I'll let people read for themselves, because it's a good story. And also the second part there is kind of the chunkiest bit, is the siege of West Africa. So we went from what you call it, the Gambia to Lagos as Mexican pirates the whole way over 3 months. That was wild as well. And then the third part is this. So this counters 2 trips. That's kind of if you broken up trips, and eventually Somalia, which is kind of the most extreme of it all.
Yeah.
So it's 28 chapters, 70,000 words. It took me 5 years since I started writing. I took a break of 2 years, because I had a lot of media attacks. Do you remember that whole Rouge scandal?
Yeah.
I had the Sunday World in Ireland. They wanted an Irish angle, so they did a 2-page spread on me, and they committed libel. Like, they eventually had to take it down.
Oh, really?
But, wow. Yeah, but it made me paranoid for a while. I was worried, because things are getting very politically correct, and
yes,
this book isn't exactly politically correct.
But it's, I mean, firstly, it is very well written. So I mean, even though it's taken you, whatever you say about yourself as a writer, I mean, it's incredibly well written. But I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about talking about political correctness. But I mean, you seem to me to be a very measured kind of a dude. I mean, it's not some sort of a. It's anything but some kind of a misogynistic rant. I mean, it seems like you're somebody who absolutely loves women. You love female energy and all that kind of stuff. So it's a celebration, really, if anything, isn't it? I would say.
Well, I'm glad you see it like that. I was hoping it would come across. There's 1 or 2 towards the end. There's certain things I was saying that might be considered controversial to some audiences, but I tried to toe the line.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have a lot of female readers, actually. So I want, even the last book, there was a lot of women who read the book, and so I mean, it's obviously, if I got female readers, it's saying something.
Sure. In all of your travels, right, have you noticed any differences in female nature, let's say, the way women react, or would you say, is it fair to say that really all over the place it's kind of the same?
Well, let me tell you something. You talk about the red pill. This is why I'm not God pill. I'm very red pill, is because when you kind of do what I do and you dress like this, I have been in situations that would break your heart. It would break your soul to see the stuff I've pulled off with, guys showing up to a bar with their girlfriends. It's like, I'll take her. And it's pretty. In a way, I've seen too much. I've seen a lot of darkness.
Yes.
So I know it's almost like, if you show up like this even if you go to somewhere like Georgia or Azerbaijan, it's kind of like, you kind of feel like you go in as a rock star. I mean, we've walked into places where people start clapping and stuff like that. So wait, sorry, what was the original question again? I went off on a tangent there.
Female nature. Would you say it's the same?
Yeah. It's pretty. Now listen, not everyone is the same.
Yeah.
There are girls who stay loyal and, you know, have their boundaries and stuff, but I could tell you some things. I wouldn't even publish them. That,
Yeah.
you know, let's say I was just I remember you know, a while back, and even in Europe, by the way, Europe is some and New York, you know, where let's say a person could come into the bar with their husband, another couple could come in and their boyfriend girlfriend, where I could have both of those going down to me in the bathroom, you know, over the night, you know, that kind of
Mm. Yeah.
evilness.
Mm.
That you learn about female nature pretty quick in that circumstance.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I always like to talk about human nature because I think I'm never on board with this getting down on not in that sense. You know,
By the way,
being down.
have about 10 minutes, just so you know.
Right? Yeah, sure. Let's wrap up in a second. But I just wanted to, I just wanted to say, you know, I've never been down on sort of this whole sort of like, you know, being down on women and sort of like anything like that. Because I think the issue has always been, I think men can be scumbags. I think women can also be scumbags. I think human beings are, in the end, I think human beings are out for themselves. Now, that's not to say that we can't be altruistic, and it's not to say that people, you know, always act out on their worst instincts. But I think that we do, and I think the only issue, as far as women are concerned, is that perhaps guys have not believed it of women because of the way that, you know, they thought
I think
that women
men are very naive and idealistic.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So, exactly. So it's less about saying that women as a homogenous group are good or bad or anything.
It's not a bad thing. It is what it is. I mean,
exactly.
Like men are the way we are. But it's only when you get exposed to. That's why I'm very kind of pro red pill, because I've seen it. So it's when you get exposed and you just kind of accept. You know, there's beauty and darkness. We're all light and dark. It's not. It's there's you know, we just are the way we are, and I don't think. I don't see anything as wrong with that anymore. I just take it as it is.
Yeah, completely. And this is my feeling about the red pill as well, is that it's not about it being good or bad. It is what it is. Nature is amoral. Nature is, this is how it is. And, you know, you're either going to, you know, accept that. You're either going to look at that seriously and say, right, this is how things are, and you've got to accept it and then decide how to move on from that, or you're going to get negative about it. And there's no point in getting negative about.
No, right. I mean, you know, a lot of guys, they go black pill or whatever when they kind of discover how, you know, the true side of human nature. I'm not going to say female nature. I'm going to say human nature. You know, when they plug out from the matrix or whatever the term is, you know, they get very downhearted because it's like, you know, finding out about Santa.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, we get conditioned when we're kids about how ideal relationships ought to be. And you know, you can still have a family and you can still do that, but, you know, like, be pragmatic about it. You know, you can trust, but things are circumstantial as well. You know, like you know, I'm trying to be careful with my words here, but you just I think relationships should be treated pragmatically.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Andrew Tate had a good interview with Rolo about this. You know, how, you know, even him, who's you know, quite an alpha dude, like, he wouldn't be too keen on his girls going out drinking with her mates and all that kind of stuff, because he knows what's up. So and he treats it pragmatically, and, you know, you think guys like himself would be like the super, you know, like, oh, no chance she's gonna do it, which a lot of guys think. You know, their girls go out drinking with their mates, like, nah, she won't do anything, no fucking way. If he's thinking like that, you should be thinking like that. Because you know, but yeah, just people need to be pragmatic.
I think it's just, no, you know, nobody should be under the illusions that everybody's capable of doing bad things, right? And if you're having opportunities thrown at you and there's enough of them and they're attractive enough, then, you know, it's human nature that you're going to maybe act out on one of those things, you know. And we, you know, that's so. Yeah, you're right. You've got to be pragmatic and just, you know, be a little bit vigilant and just, you know,
and However, though, I do think that there is a case for temperance, because we live in a society that was, completely different to the way things were 10,000 years ago. When we were living in small bands of tribes, wherever relationships were a lot more close knit. Where now it's a free for all with dating
Yeah.
apps and Instagram and all that kind of thing.
Mm.
I do think there's a case for temperance, because I know I read about this at the end of the book, that because I've had so much experience, I used to like capture flags or whatever, and I got ridiculously good at it. And the more and more I did it, the less happy I got. In fact, I started to get depressed after a while,
Yeah.
just chasing, and was doing stupid stuff like trying to getting 3 races in a day and stuff like that. And I just kept going and going and going to see, how far can I take this? And it was kind of an empty pursuit at the end of the day. I find now I get more happiness from more meaningful relationships. But I would warn guys against too much hedonism, because you can go down a dark path. I just don't think it should be all and end all. You have to have something else going on in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's right. And I sort of think the reason that some of these guys are finding the God pill now is because perhaps they sort of neglected that a little bit. I mean, for me, it's always been, I've always tried to have a balance. I'm not blowing my own trumpet here. It's just how it's sort of worked out. I've always tried to have a bit of a balance between, yes, hedonism, but also trying to have something else going on a little bit,
Well, I think I listened to you on your stream. You were talking about how you get a lot of meaning from helping guys out, and that's like your purpose. You're trying to improve guys. You're kind of a mentor, and like that drives you. And so you're a good example of that, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think in some shape or form, you need to have a bigger mission than just chasing tail, but I think that's true. I think that's true whether you're 21 or whether you're 41 or whatever, it's that's something you should always be mindful of, for sure.
But try saying that to a guy in his 20s,
Yeah, exactly.
In your 20s, just like, Urgh!
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah. Exactly. Well, it's the cycle of things, and everyone has their own journey, as they say. But but that I think a lot of us end up kind of coming to agree on this sort of thing about having some sort of a mission, some sort of some spiritual well that comes from somewhere else, But look, anyway, listen, we should probably draw this to an end, because I know you've got to go and I've got to head off as well. It's been absolutely awesome having you on. Maybe we can arrange something else.
Yeah. Well, we can check in, because I didn't even. I don't think I told even any stories. But it was a great conversation, though. We just kind of went with the flow. I liked it,
mate. And I mean, maybe at some point we can do another show, because it would be great to talk a bit more about travel and some other. We can think of some specific sort of things.
I'm thinking about. I did my first live stream yesterday. It was a weird experience, but I'm kind of thinking I might start doing more of it and get into the space a bit more. It's exciting,
mate. 100%. So we should definitely work on some stuff. But anyway, so your book, My Life as a Mexican Pirate, is out today. People can get it on Amazon.
50% off today.
50% off today.
Yeah. It's a $5, so $5. It's like MexicanPirates.com. I'm also working on an audiobook, actually. I'm about halfway through it, but oh my God, it's so much work. You're trying to do an argument between 3 African women, and I'm narrating like, oh my God, why did you do that?
Yeah,
that's hard.
I feel the pain, man. I feel the pain. What's the website?
Have you?
Mate, I haven't yet, and I need to get onto it, because I know it's. But I'm just at the moment looking at getting someone to do it, because I don't know. That's
too hard. Well, if you're doing nonfiction, hire a professional. But in this book, I had to do it.
Yeah. And just remind us of the URL again for the site.
MexicanPirates.com.
MexicanPirates.com.
Or NaughtyNomad.com as well. I'm on Twitter at Naughty Nomad, Instagram Naughty Nomad. We have a Facebook page, Facebook group. The group is very active for guys. For guys traveling, and if you're another guy who just wants to hook up in, I don't know, you're in Riga, you're looking for a guy to hang out with, it's a good place to go.
Mate, I need to get on board with that group, actually.
Yeah.
I need to come into that group. But yeah, the links are below. So do pick up a copy of Mark's book. It's absolutely fantastic. I can't recommend it highly enough. Mate, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. Just hang on a second after we finish, because we could have a quick chat. And my hearties. And yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. Sorry about the technical issues before, but I hope you've enjoyed this stream. And yeah, we will chat again very soon. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.